Excellent. It's wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out for the show.
Sure.
So before we get into your work, I want to know this. 5 years ago, this pandemic was changing everything.
Yeah.
How did you get through that COVID era, and how has it changed the way that you approach life today?
Well, I mean, obviously, 5 years ago, having your own business makes it super easy to be flexible.
Yeah.
So at that point, I was pivoting my business from a PR marketing to a culture studio. Probably started that in 17, 18. So I was on that trajectory. So I was kind of right time, actually, right place, because I had kids
Yeah.
and COVID turned into school. And so I went from being an owner of a business to managing COVID with two kids, middle school and high school,
Wow.
um, and other moms' kids who couldn't figure out how to use all the technology.
Wow.
So I had elementary school downstairs and I had middle school, high school upstairs for the kids who didn't, whose mom didn't work at home.
Yeah.
Couldn't figure it out. So for that personally, that was kind of where I spent my time. But um, interestingly enough, when we were pivoting into this culture work after my years at Disney, I figured it was time for me to start capitalizing on what Disney gave me as far as a tool belt was concerned. So in 17, we were pivoting, and in so much that the pandemic caused everybody else to kind of catch up to where we were, which is you have to focus on culture, you have to focus on the employee experience, you have to focus on your talent, you have to re-recruit your employees. So I found that the pandemic fed directly into the message that we heard, which was, if you have people, hold on to them.
Yeah.
And if you're an employee, enjoy your job. But a lot of people were pivoting to, oh, I don't really like this company anymore, so I'm going to leave them.
Yeah.
So the Great Escape found people trying to find what truly made them happy. Luckily, I was already there in my
Yeah.
company, but I was helping other organizations think through that and determining how do you handle that great exodus and how do you keep the people that you need to keep and how do you transition people that you need to transition. And for employees, what are you looking for and where are you going to find it and what's important to you? So I dug hard into the employee piece, and it's kind of worked out a little bit.
So let's get into what you do on a daily basis with Castaway and Company and in general. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds. It's career day. You're in a school, and the kid in the back of the room is like, "What do you do for a living?" How do you answer him?
So I say that I help companies with their programs so that their employees want to stay with them. I help bosses make their workplaces better.
So, what did you want to be at 12 years old? What was your dream career gig?
Dolphin trainer.
Okay.
Um, I wanted to be Julie McCoy on the Love Boat.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted to travel, and we were pretending to be like 12-year-old. Gosh, let me think. 12 years old, I think I wanted to pretend to be a reservation agent at a spa. We played reservations agent.
So I'm curious. No, that's perfect. Those are perfect dreams. I mean, you got travel, you got marine biology, you got all of it figured out. So take me back to your beginnings in Omaha. What were the
Yep.
foundational seeds that were planted that gave you
Mhm.
these dreams of wanting to see the world? And then Disney and helping people with their culture. How did all of these dreams hatch and evolve into you?
Well, I'm the fourth of four.
Okay.
So they weren't all my original ideas, but my dad was in the Navy. We were stationed in San Diego. So I learned all about water and boats through my dad.
Yeah.
When I was 7 years old, I heard a song about a man who was looking for a shaker of salt, and I thought that was really weird. Um, and then I think it was my first one of my first couple jobs. I worked at the local photographer studio, so I learned my business ethics and how to blend your work and your life. He had a studio inside his house, so I was watching how you can blend your life and career all in the same genre. I, senior year of high school, saw my sister-in-law go to Disney to do a college internship. Then I graduated from high school and my sister did the college internship at Disney. So while I was in college, I was working at the local hotel, wanting to be Robin Leach with the lifestyles of the rich and famous
Yeah.
in downtown Lincoln, Nebraska. And I realized I wanted to work in hotels and work in these glamorous resort style environments. And obviously, Lincoln, Nebraska wasn't it.
Yeah.
So Disney was the organization that I had in front of me, and they were knocking on my doors in college to say, come do an internship for us. And that was in the late 80s. So I got bit by the bug of the Disney culture, the Disney experience, but more importantly, the guest piece, the details, the focus on service, the little things that Disney did that no one else was doing, at least in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yeah.
In comparative, I did work at the Cornhusker Hotel, which was the premier four diamond property in Lincoln at the time.
Yeah.
So I was at the top of my game in Lincoln.
Yeah.
I did check in, some very famous musicians, and we were the place to be. But it was really that Disney experience that taught me to learn service and my eye for detail and my focus on the employee piece. And it was just it was a fire hose that first summer. And then I went back to school. I decided I couldn't stay at Disney forever. I finished I was in Orlando and I decided to stay in Florida. I didn't want to go back to Nebraska. Why would you?
Yeah.
So I stayed in school and I tried to stay at home and not work at Disney down at the beach, which was amazing, but it was hard for me to finish my degree. And so I ended up going back to Nebraska against my will to finish the degree. And then literally like the week of graduation, I was already talking to Disney about going back. So it really was some really great experiences early on. You know, I went right into a hotel after graduation with a degree in psychology, and I used it every day. I still do.
Yeah.
Um, but that's how I got to Disney from Nebraska, and that's where I started my career really at Disney.
So my son absolutely loves amusement parks. He's on the spectrum, and he would go to Worlds of Fun a lot.
Mm.
And they were run by Cedar Fair, and now they're run by Six Flags. During this about 2 years ago, I went to Disney, and what we see is something drastically from what we get here locally. Like there's nothing like that whole Disney, the way all of them treat you and the way they are. Like it just doesn't happen. Like I'm astonished that Worlds of Fun can stay open with the way they do their things. I mean, rides are broken down. I mean, just like things just yeah, customer service. So my question to you is this, my lead in is this. Is what we see as consumers on the Disney experience on par with what you experience as an employee, as a what, cast member? Is that the correct
Cast member, you bet.
cast member?
Mm-hmm.
Is it pretty akin to what we would think it would be, an
Mm-hmm.
idyllic kind of environment?
Yeah. And of course, I'm not going to, tell you that it's a perfect place. No one's
Right.
perfect. But
Sure.
yes, yes, they dedicate resources, a ton of resources to the cast experience equally. So what you guys don't see as guests is what our experiences is as a cast.
Yeah.
And so while no one's ever happy at their job, um, Disney does a good job of providing a whole departments and divisions focused on recognition and programming and leadership and Disney University and ongoing training and leadership training for my leaders to make sure I'm getting good leaders as a cast member.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'm not going to say it's perfect, but absolutely, we believe in what they call the three-legged stool,
Yeah. Yeah.
guest cast business. You've got to focus on your employees as much as your guests,
Yeah.
as much as your business, or else your stool will fall over.
For
And
sure.
that was the model I've learned since I was 16 years old, 18 years old. So that's what I bring to my clients. That's what I bring in the blood. Air I breathe and the blood that goes through my veins is service, people, leadership, always. Um, I too have a really hard time being a consumer with this lens.
Yeah,
So my lens is I'm very detail oriented and I
yeah.
focus on a lot of that kind of stuff when I go out as a customer.
Who's been your hero? Who's been your inspirational force in your life?
Well, personally, my mother, who passed away 6 years ago, and my father, who are still living, he's 90. So they stayed married. They're still, I got to live in a house that was, you know, married for 55 years. I mean, I'm not going to be a dork, but I think, from a career perspective, Walt kind of had some pretty good ideas. He was probably a great, inspiration on how to think and change your mindset about, if you have a great place, that's great, but if you don't have great people working for you. So Walt had that kind of that stuff nailed down. So those are kind of the two, Jimmy Buffett's one of my heroes. Um, Kind of lived life to be the best person he could be and always gave back, but had fun doing it.
Yeah.
So,
It is amazing to think about that empire. I just went down to Lake of the Ozarks for I do a podcast training when I was at Margaritaville. And I remember when it used to be Tantera and how they transformed it and kind of his whole, just his empire, all the things that he did. There was so much that was a part of his world. I need to get his book next and really read into his story. I don't know it.
oh, you don't?
No.
I mean, I've been working with his group. I mean, I run the internship program for Margaritaville right now.
Okay.
They're one of my
Okay.
clients, and I am tickled that
Yeah.
I get to educate people about what a parrot head is. But
Yeah.
it really is a really neat story, and it goes back to Mobile. They're actually opening up a museum for him
Okay.
in September at the Maritime Museum of the Gulf. They're going to have a permanent Jimmy Buffett experience there because he started with nothing. He was a singer-songwriter just making money for tips and
Yeah.
singing for wages and singing for beers, but something about that song.
That's it. It made it. So let me ask you this. If you can meet anybody on the planet right now that you find fascinating that would help you on your journey, you have a lunch, pick their brains, who would you love to meet and talk to?
Right now they have to be alive.
It could be ghosts too. We can go to the
Oh,
ghost route.
that's hard. I really love Mel Robbins. I would sit down with her in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Um, I really did love when Ellen was on TV. I really loved Ellen's take on life, at
Yeah.
least what she showed us,
Yeah.
and her philanthropy as well. She has a great spirit and energy. But if I could sit down and talk to JFK,
Yeah.
yeah, I would have loved to just sit in his shoes for a while and sit with him for a while.
I always wonder what would have happened to the American trajectory in light of everything that's happening right now if either him or RFK lived. And they would
Or
have
JFK Jr.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If
Yeah.
their political lineage would have lived out and they would have kind of kept that Kennedy ideal going, it's interesting, you know?
Yeah, we definitely lost it for sure. And you don't know, but Camelot died with JFK Jr. I think he would have made a run. I think he was working his way back into politics.
Yeah,
We totally would have had a Kennedy in the White House again, I bet.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a whole other
Th
ooh, that's
yeah,
a whole other trajectory. I could spend hours talking about that process, but yeah,
that's
for
it.
sure.
Yeah,
Um, it's just the ideal, it's just the idyllic world that I think we've all lost a little bit, that there was a time and a place when there was magic in other parts of our world,
hmm
and it's not there anymore. So you've got to find your way to make it through the dark days, to find what makes you happy, and you got to find your own little magical happy cloud that you can find your way under.
yeah. There was a book I was reading before I went to Disney a few years ago, and it was a true story. It was based on a journalist that moved to Kansas City and ran into his name was Charlie, and he was like 104, 105. And at one point in the book, they were talking about Walt Disney when he came from Marceline down to Kansas City and went to art school. There used to be something called Electric Park in Kansas City, and that was the archetype. That was the template that he used to go to California to make Disney. And there's pictures of that still. If you Google Electric Park, he orchestrated the lights, and Kansas City's known for fountains. There were fountains everywhere. It was an amusement park, and he used that is this template, and it still blows me away how all of those wheels started and the magic at that time was happening, you
Great
know?
point. You're right. He was still it never left him. It just grew further
Yeah,
from that boy in Marceline. Yeah. I mean, just the way he continuously reinvented everything he did,
yeah,
just and pushed the limits on animation and live action, and just we have some of those people now today, but they're just not as magical, maybe.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe I'm biased.
No, I get it. I totally get it. So,
Yeah.
what is it that gets you going every day? Gets you to wake up when the alarm goes off, to work for your clients, to create this culture, to do good work, and to also take care of your own soul. What's that collective energy for you every day?
Well, I think for me, it's really like honoring the legacy of what I came from. And I tell people not everybody got to grow up in a great culture like I did and have a great experience just as an employee, right? Every day we have to work. You have to work somewhere. Um, Not everybody got to have what we had there, all 65,000 of us, right?
Yeah,
So I feel like, and most people at Disney who are outside of the company now continuously try and find ways to motivate and inspire others because we had it so good, and we know that it could be better, and we are such sticklers for that opportunity to show people how it could be done, that that's what drives me really. To know that it could be better, and my job is to continuously find ways to give that to people in any way, shape, or form. So I run a young professional network. I want to make sure we're providing what we need for young leaders who are new to this whole thing. And are we role modeling correctly? And are we going to develop better leaders than we have? And why do we still have leadership problems when we have so much leadership training out there? Why do we still have a problem with leadership?
yeah,
Um, so I still feel like I feel like we're not done yet, right? I guess it's one of my opuses that not every company is going to be able to be perfect all the time, but can they just keep striving to be better and better and better,
yeah.
ultimately for the people who benefit from it, which for me personally is the employees and ultimately is the customer. But I just feel like employees deserve a better workplace considering all the things they do and give up to be there.
So let me ask you this: aside from your experience at Disney, what company right now, what company culture exists in the American lexicon that you admire, that is kind of a part of a vision that you have that you want to give to your clients?
Uh, I don't want to go too big because I get scary a little bit. I think Southwest had it for a while, right? The airline industry, that was like the darling of the airlines. Some of Starbucks gets it. I'm not big on all of that, but there's pieces and parts of the experience that some companies are getting really good at. So I don't know all of them. I don't research the top 100 companies by culture, but there are some organizations out there that just get the employee piece. There's companies out there also like me, Corn Ferry, and some of the organizational companies who are out there doing it on a way bigger scale than me, who are helping organizations. Center for Creative Leadership, I love them out of Greensboro, North Carolina. They're the educational component of what we do. And then there's always going to be the Gallups. I love Gallup and the Strengths Finder and some of the work that these organizations are out there helping other organizations. So I pay attention to people who do kind of like what I do on a, again, way bigger scale.
Yeah.
Um, but I like my local Mexican restaurant in Mint Hill. I like, it doesn't have to be this big grand
Yeah.
company. Um, so a brand is not coming to mind right now, which is kind of sad. One should just resonate quickly, but it
But you
isn't.
but you picked examples. That makes sense. Um, so let me ask you this. If you were to have a dream tonight, you went back to your childhood home in Omaha and walked up into your bedroom and ran into the young version of you and had a picture coffee table book of what you've done with your life so far, and you gave it to her and she looked through it confused and said, "What is this?" And you said, "That's how it all worked out." Would that
Hmm.
young version of you believe it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I think the things I've done are pretty tangible. again, I was blessed to have this Disney experience, which has opened up doors. But I love my current client group, the Margaritaville group. I love working with them and helping young leaders come into internship and understand you can still have fun at work. You can still have fun. That vibe is great. I love working with leaders to watch them kind of put the light bulb on about the impact that they have on their own culture, that they are the drivers of their culture, not somebody else. And to know that the freedom that gives them to go, oh, so I can just make that change. Yes, you can just make that change yourself. So helping them make those decisions. But yeah, I think, she grew up in Nebraska. She went to Nebraska and she got a degree. She moved to Florida. She lived in the Bahamas for 6 months, opened up Disney Cruise Line, had a kick in the pants job opening up the ships, living on the ocean, living in the islands. I mean, it really is not many people Nebraska's dream or experience to open the doors and realize you're in the Bahamas one day helping opening up a Disney cruise on island. That was pretty magical.
Yeah.
Hence the name of the company, right? I had a pretty good time there.
Yeah.
And we showed that the crew experience is equal to the cast and guest experience.
Yeah.
So, and that little slice on the island that we have for the crew only is one of the best views on the beach. And so they saved it for the crew.
So let me ask you this. If you were to walk into a room of everybody that knows you in a business sense, clients, colleagues, everyone that works with you, and you walked and swam through that group of people to a podium up front, and you could tell them one fun story about your life. Maybe the first concert you went to, a magical place you traveled to, jumping out of an airplane, outrunning a bear. What would be a fun story that would humanize you to that group of predominantly business minds?
Um, I would tell them about my first ride and my first trip down to the island, and that it took a plane ride and an hour-long car ride and a 30-minute boat ride across the Bahamian waters, which was like I was living a Jimmy Buffett song. But
Yeah.
the first time I ran that boat up to see Castaway Key for the first time, knowing that this was going to be Disney's private island, was probably one of my favorite vistas in my brain when I think about it.
Yeah.
The turquoise blue water and this one little speedboat, like one person going to an island. It was
Yeah.
amazing.
That is. So that's kind of like what you're talking about with the Love Boat, that whole idea of the Bon Voyage ultimate thing. Uh, yeah,
Right. Kind of.
Gilligan's Island without getting stuck. So,
Yes.
so let me ask you this. Of everything that you've done in your life, everything you've accomplished, everything you've evolved to, what are you ultimately the proudest of?
My kids.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I mean, I'm raising people. It's a great career and I had fun and I'm not done yet. I'm still doing it, but I have an 18-year-old and a 13-year-old right now who are becoming young men. And to know that I've got a job to do to put them as productive members of society. And ultimately, I'm so proud of them.
Yeah. So everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, clients, everyone that works with you, but you run the show. What's your
Mhm.
perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I'm just this girl from Nebraska. I'm just this little sister trying to prove to her brothers and sisters in the world that I can do it too. I'm also a visionary and sometimes a dreamer. And so I still believe in the dream. And I still believe that you can have it all. It's just not maybe in the way you thought, but I still would like to think you can have everything you want out of life if you plan for it.
So as a dreamer, if you could get into a time machine and go
Mm,
back in time and see one event in human history,
mm.
any event with your own eyes that won't create a tear in time, you just get to witness the magic unfold before your very eyes. Where are you going?
I went to Bethlehem
Okay.
on that whatever day it was in the spring or the winter.
Yeah.
I kind of want to be in the stable
Okay.
watching
Yeah. Just to see. Just to see.
just to be there. Pretty
Yeah.
amazing that, that'd be a pretty good sight to see.
Absolutely. So, what do you like the best about being in the Carolinas, and what do you miss about Omaha?
Oh, What I miss about Nebraska, not much. What do I love about being in the Carolinas? I was dragging coming here. I felt like I was way too far from the beach. I don't like being as far from the beach, but what I love about it is today is the leaves are on the ground,
Yeah,
a little wet. I love the crinkling of the leaves, similar to where I grew up in Omaha, but I don't have to see them forever, and it doesn't have to be bitterly cold. So I love the weather.
yeah,
I love the fact that I can go 2 hours in the mountains, 2 hours, 3 hours or so to the beach. And I love that there's a family setting after growing up and living in Orlando for so long where everybody is a guest or a visitor, that this is a place where families play soccer on the weekends and they go to the beach for the summer, but then they come home. It's kind of normal. And after living in Orlando for 20 years, it was really there wasn't normal. I had to sit in traffic to get groceries because of all the Disney tourists that came to town, and
yeah,
getting as a resident of Orlando, it's difficult with traffic, just trying to get your life led. But here in Charlotte, I get to see leaves and I get to see color and I don't have to see palm trees everywhere.
yeah,
So the environment's really nice. The people are nice. There's old money and new money. People seem to like Charlotte. There's a lot of people coming.
yeah,
So there's a lot of opportunity for me to continue to do my work. Um, and I can still go to Disney through a flight, it's cheap fares. And so I think it's a win-win
yeah,
for me.
yeah,
Just as long as I can get to the beach about 3 or 4 times every quarter, I'm okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So if anyone wants to dig into Castaway and Company, ask you questions, any of the good business, where do they go?
Just find me on my website, castawayandcompany.com, or just email me, Diane at castawayandcompany.com. I love to talk. You can tell I'm not shy. If
Yeah,
anyone wants to learn more about how I can help them, or if they just want to hear some more stories from the road, absolutely come find me. We're just launching another company called Castle Consultants International. We're taking over a 45-year life and career planning business, and we'll be launching some workshops next year on how to dream and build your series dream as well. So
okay,
we're starting that next February.
excellent. I will put all this in the show notes. Diane, thank you so much for your story. Thank you for your time.
Thank
Best of luck with everything.
you.
You bet.